people say, take the intro classes, and I didn't do that. And part of it's like, I've done spinning before. I know how to do this. I know about form. I know about pedal strokes and all that stuff. And there's a little bit of arrogance in that, but it's kind of true. And so I didn't want to do that and make it feel like it was too easy. But like, if you're just getting started, do the beginning stuff, take different instructors. Don't burn yourself out. I mean, that's a key thing. And get into some of the other stuff. Like, the strengths program is really good, and find the instructors you like.
It's more than just your output, more than a bike. When you hear your shout out, you know it's all right. Put on your magic pants and let's go. We're cruising into the power zone. Clip in, set yourself free. Come on and take a ride with me. You know what you need to know and what's it all about. Everything you need, it's on the Clip Out.
Welcome to the Clip Out Podcast, episode 254.
I'm here to help. I'm basically like the project manager of the Clip Out.
This is Crystal O'Keefe, and you can ignore the self-proclaimed project manager.
This is Tom O'Keefe. I've got a plaid belt in project management.
It's
is
not.
That what it is?
No.
Is that how it works?
No, it's not.
They invented it for me because I was so good at it.
No.
The way I keep everything on schedule here. Remember when you used to be a project manager?
Oh my God, how rude. I still keep your butt on schedule. So there.
So I'm on schedule. Oh, look at that look. John Mills, there's your gift. That's the sour face. I think that might be the first one she's. If you haven't checked out the Clip Out, the youtube.com/the Clip Out, that's the look I get from her. She's never done it on the show. It's taken 5 years. But now you see the real Clip Out Crystal. It's what I really deal with day in, day out. So, there. I feel vindicated.
Good for you. I'm happy for you.
You look it. So, I don't know. Where were we at?
Starting the show.
By the time you hear this, we will have just gotten back from New York.
We will. That is true.
We're flying up to New York for a quick thing.
Yeah. 24 hours. Boom. That's
In,
it.
out.
That's how we do.
Yeah. Should we say why we're going to New York?
Yeah, I think so. You guys might remember that Howie Godnick passed away suddenly this year, and there's a group of folks that are celebrating his birthday, and we were invited, so we're gonna Zoom up there and memorialize Howie and celebrate his birthday, and then we'll be heading right back.
So it'll be, can we say fun?
It will be wonderful to see people that we have not seen
absolutely
in so long, and it will be wonderful to hear fun stories that will make. I mean, I can anticipate some of these stories that we're going to be hearing about Howie, and that's gonna make my day. So
absolutely,
it's gonna be a very heart-filling opportunity, I think.
Yeah, and there'll be pizza.
Yeah, you can see where Tom stands on these things. Yep. You little project manager, you.
Yeah. So just that's what they used to lure me in. They were like, we're doing this wonderful, heartfelt, commemorative thing, and tell Tom there'll be pizza.
And then he was in.
Yeah. That's like.
It's not true. That's not true. You heard Howie and you were like, yes.
The pizza is just a happy accident.
You act like you're stone-hearted, but you got a heart of gold over there, mister.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I do.
That's just a vicious rumor started by somebody I gave the shirt off my back to. So what, pray tell, do you have in store for people this week?
Well, we're going to do an in-depth conversation about the guide, my experience this week.
You've had it for a week, and so you can finally give people real, honest-to-God insight.
Yes, we've got a visit from Dr. Jenn, and it's all about like an injury and how to mentally get past that. We also have a visit from Angelo at MetPro, and it's all about resisting temptation. And then we have a lot
Like
of
pizza.
which apparently you're not worried about resisting at all. I sent you that note, and you literally said, "I guess we're not going to have a MetPro day."
Thank goodness Angelo doesn't listen to his segments. I was like, I don't know what happened. I think it's bloat from the plane.
As long as you lose it in 24 hours.
Yeah.
And then we're also going to talk about some other things going on with the instructors and some in case you missed it stuff. People getting their gifts for the 15,000 minutes. Things like that.
Awesome. Well, before we get to all that, shameless plugs, don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find a podcast, you can find us. And you can, while you're there, follow us so you never miss an episode. I was looking at our data this week. Apple has new data. And I found out that 94% of our listeners every week are already subscribed.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that nice?
Wow.
So the 6% of you out there, I'm just applying a little peer pressure. You're kind of a nerd. So all the cool kids did it. If everyone jumped off a bridge, would you? And what
that's a good way to convince them to hit the subscribe
Yeah.
button. Oh, I'm sorry. The follow
button. And what did I tell my mom when she used to say that to me?
I don't know.
I said, if everyone else jumped off a bridge, I'd be the last person on earth. So, of course, I would jump off. What would be the point?
You would be like, well, I don't know how to do anything myself.
Yeah, what am I going to do?
My hands won't open.
Yeah, like I got to, what am I going to go be a farmer now? Like what? I would get like a cavity and die from the infection. Like what would
God.
Yeah, no, I'll just follow everybody else at that point. So where was I at? Oh,
I have
also,
no idea.
You could leave us a review while you're there. That's always helpful because who wouldn't want to review positively a podcast that apparently just encouraged mass suicide?
Oh my God. Do not at me. At Tom.
It was hypothetical.
You know, people never at you. I think this is interesting. It's like they know you're not even going to bother reading it, that you won't care. So somehow I get all the complaints. What's that about?
It seems like a great plan. It's the sort of thing a project manager would come up with.
Well, apparently you're a real good project manager, so I guess.
Thank you. I'm glad you're finally acknowledging that.
So I guess they should send it all to you. All right.
No, I've delegated. So anyway, I'm shamelessly plugging.
All right. Get to it.
I'm trying. So also you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/theclipout. While you're there, like the page, join the group, and check out our YouTube channel where you can see Crystal give me her sour face, and youtube.com/theclipout. Finally, we throw a lot of articles and stuff at you over the course of an episode, and it's hard to write down URLs while you're driving. So you can sign up for the newsletter at theclipout.com, and they will all be sent to you weekly. There, I'm done. Let's dig in, shall we?
We shall.
Run, lift, and live with John Mills.
Joining us once again via the magic of ZoomTube, it's John Mills from Run, Lift, and Live, or Run, Lift, Live, or Run, Lift, and or Live.
All of that.
Yes.
All of that.
He was having an existential... Before we started recording, he was having an existential crisis as to whether or not it's and live, or I'm like, it's your thing. It's whatever you want it to be.
Well, you know, for years it's been Run, Lift, and spelled out A-N-D, Live. That's my leaderboard name. That's the website address. That's the group name. And so, I mean, it's been like that for like 5-6 years. And then just like a week or two ago, I'm like, you know, there's some people, they won't put the and in there. They might not be able to get to the site. So then I went and bought the domain Run, Lift, Live.
Yeah.
And so now you can get there from both places. But I don't know why I thought that's a problem after 5-6 years.
I love
know.
that you're solving problems.
It's good to have multiple addresses that feed into the same thing. That's smart. Like
I feel like this is Peloton's marketing department. They're just solving problems they don't even have.
Yeah.
They're just
we do that.
I was mirroring them.
Yes.
We were right here.
We do that for Real Spoilers. You can go to realspoilers.com or you can go to dirtypiratehookers.com. And that is 100% true. Like,
wow.
Didn't even know that.
Yeah.
The stuff that goes on in my house, I don't know about.
Yes.
Although it makes sense.
Yeah. It makes sense if you listen to the show.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
I'm sure I'll come up with some other problem that's not a problem. I do that sometimes.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
I wake up at
My
4 o'clock in the morning. I start solving stuff that doesn't need to be solved, you know? I'll wake up and I'll be like, oh, dang, I need to wake Tom up right now and tell him this. And then I sit there. I'm like, I need to wait till he's awake. And then he wakes up and I'm like, there's something I was going to tell you and I forgot. Every time.
Every time. Every damn time.
I've done that to Erica a bunch of times. It's kind of funny. She's a deep sleeper.
So's Tom.
Yeah.
So's
She's
Tom.
deep.
Are you a light sleeper? Do you wake up?
I'm a very light sleeper.
So
You
am
can
I.
wake me up real easy. Her? Oh my gosh, it takes her a while. but I've done that.
Yeah.
Erica.
I can
Then she finally wakes up and I'm like,
Oh, are you awake?
nothing.
You're like, I forgot what I was going to say around the fourth Erica.
I kept going in case it came back to me, though.
Thought I'd circle back around.
She gets more angry about it now, over the years. So I don't do that as much.
Because the newness is worn off.
Well, I think it's also because as you get older, like you don't sleep as well or as long. I don't know about you guys. This is just my experience. It's like, the days where I got to sleep 8 to 10 hours a day, those days are long gone. So if I get to sleep
That's
for 10
right.
hours and somebody wakes me up,
That's a problem.
it's not going to go well.
It's like the older you get, the earlier you wake up, whether you want to or not. Where it used to be like sleeping in was like 10 o'clock and then
Yeah.
it became like 9 o'clock. And now it's like,
Right.
even on days
look,
where
7:30.
it's 7:30 and we're up and moving.
Look at us
That's
sleeping
me.
in.
But here's your hope for the future. My grandmother died when she was 95.
That's true.
She was in
Wow.
independent living until like the last 4 months of her life.
Yep.
So we should be so lucky. But
Wow.
95, she was sleeping until 10 o'clock again. And I'm
That's
like,
true.
hey, maybe it comes back. It's maybe
It comes back around.
I think it's
Yeah.
like daylight savings time if you don't move the clocks. Like it keeps.
It just catches up all over
you
again.
circle back around.
Circles back.
And you're right back where you started. So something to look forward to.
All
You
right.
won't remember any of it, but you can look forward to it. So
It might happen. You
Right.
just won't remember.
yes.
Okay.
So why are we here? Oh, Peloton.
yeah.
I remember that.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So the guide came out this week. Crystal has now had a full week of guide usage under her belt, and so we
Yes.
thought we'd just kind of drill down on thoughts and things of that nature.
Yeah, and you guys have read lots of stuff about the guide, so jump in if I miss details that you've read about. And okay, so here's my first impression. Very nice packaging, by the way. It's beautiful. It looks great.
Look cool.
It did, yeah. And I really like the way it's the base is magnetized to the bottom, so it feels very solid. So depending on wherever you put it, you feel like it's going to stay together. It's going to be a good
It's a strong magnet.
It is a very strong magnet. So once I figured out how to put the batteries in the remote, by the way,
Who figured it out?
Okay, Tom figured it out.
Why? Because I'm a project manager.
Oh, stop.
What?
Stop it. So that was at the end, the little button at the end of the remote, if anybody doesn't know that. Okay, so we get it all set up.
God, hopefully they figured it out by now. I would hate to think that they've had their guide for
Maybe they just got the guide.
a week. And
Maybe they
You
just
were
got it.
so neat with how you open that.
I always
I'm
am.
very
Tasmanian devil.
Yeah, I go crazy, but that was nice.
Well, I don't like to rip the boxes because it hurts my hands. It's actually just it's me helping myself, really.
And she was taping this for the social medias, and so she was that box. If you're not careful, it'll make a fart noise, and so she was trying not to, because she was like, if I do that, people are gonna think I farted, and so I know that's what was going through her head.
Yeah,
Don't let the box make a fart noise.
That was it.
That's
So I
concerning.
was
That's
surprised how large this camera was. I expected something a little smaller. So that was interesting. Also, when you hook it up to a computer, I did not realize it has to be a 1080p or a 4K. It cannot just be any old TV. I tried it on our TV downstairs in the workout room, and I kept getting all these issues. Like it wasn't letting me calibrate the movement sensors, the camera The movement tracker, I think is what they call it. Wouldn't let me do any of that. So I thought that was interesting. Hooked it up to the television in the living room, which is much newer. And boom, it was fine.
Yeah.
It was great.
Cool.
I could never get the remote to pair with the TV, but I think it's because ours is like complex. We don't have anything that's like a super simple setup with our sound. So I'm not really worried about that. I didn't really care about the remote from a sound perspective. So then once we started using, or I started using it, let's be serious.
Who are we kidding?
Right. Once I started using it, I thought like, okay, the content itself is great. You know, it's your typical Peloton content, all good stuff. But the movement tracker, well, I had two problems with it. One, when the dog enters the room, movement tracker goes to hell. Like, it cannot track you and the dog. So if you have an animal in your house, you're going to have to keep him out of the room because it does not work.
You know what that means? You know what they need for the dog coming in the room?
Oh, I've raised myself.
I know, right?
They need a pause button.
Oh my God.
I've been sitting on that joke since she told me that the dog came in the room.
Yeah.
I was like, mental note, pause button.
Yeah.
Pause button.
So the other thing was that, like, if you're doing something like, let's say you're doing a thruster move where you like do a squat and then go into an overhead press, it will count the movement if you just raise your arms above your head. Like, you don't have to do the exact movement. It's not that hard to trick it. And I also noticed that if you are doing an EMOM for whatever reason, it like tracks it. I was doing a 4-minute one and maybe it was a 6-minute one. Doesn't matter. At 2 minutes, it said that I had completed it on my movement tracker and it stopped counting it for me. Like, my movement tracker was complete. So at 2 minutes, I was like done. So I didn't really care for that. I've also heard there's been some issues with people going into a live class. They cannot see right now. They can't see anything about the opening credits. You know, like whenever the pre-show that the instructors do. Can't see it at all. And then it kicks you out of a live class about 15 to 30 seconds early on the guide only. So I don't know what that's about either. Obviously, there are some bugs to be worked out. And as you both know, the form tracker does not the movement tracker does not actually correct your form. It is just seeing what you're doing. You're able to compare your own visual next to what the instructor is doing. I did really like that there were several different views that you could do. My favorite was when my view was stacked on top of the instructor's, because the way that the screen was set up, you could still see the leaderboard. You could still see the stack feature, which is showing you all the different moves coming up. So I liked all of that. But I didn't like how it was so easy to trick and that it's not really counting your reps. It's just counting movement. So those are my initial thoughts. Does anybody have any other things to add, questions, etc.? Sorry.
I wonder a little bit about that. I know, like, generally from what I've read, like these computer vision based devices, like, at least in other products, identify joints. And so then they build like a stick figure of a person. And so then they can determine what movement you're doing based on what's going on with those joints. And so when you say you were able to raise your hands over your head and then it thought you were doing the movement, that makes me wonder if it just doesn't know that movement yet, or if they just haven't evolved this to a point where it's identifying all these joints in that way. Like, it loses me a little bit. I'm not sure what that is.
I think that's a fair point. My understanding from my Peloton profit sources is that there are a library of moves that can be tracked within the movement tracker, and not everything can. And so there will eventually be reps that can be counted, right? So some movements you're going to be able to count the reps. However, again, this is my understanding, it is not on the roadmap at all to have form correction. So I do think that it will be a feature in the future, John, to your point, that on moves that are in the movement library, you're going to be able to see. It should get better at learning what you're doing over time. The AI should get better. However, I don't think it's going to get good enough that it's going to be able to tell you how to correct your form. It's just going to get better at counting your reps.
Gotcha. Yeah. That's, well, I was reading this ZDNet article where I can't remember the guy's name, but he's like Peloton's VP of AI and computer vision, and he was kind of talking about the guide, and he was talking about how they've used AI with Peloton in the past. They really kind of just used it for class recommendations, and now this is like their first product where it's kind of like built into like your routine, your exercise. And he talked in a way like we've got this thing out there, the first thing that's on the market, and it's going to evolve. We're going to continue I'm summarizing the whole thing. He talked about a lot of stuff, but I felt that in it. Like, it felt to me like we got something out, and now this is going to grow. It's going to get better. We're in this space now. We are going to try to continue to kind of build it out. So
I definitely agree. And I have heard that too. And I will just say again, from what I'm being told, even on the roadmap down the line, that correction is not in that roadmap, but the rep counting and other features are. And to your point, there will be other Peloton products that are released that need this guide to work. To your point, this is something that will be growing over time.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I guess where I was going with that is it feels like we've entered the space.
Yes.
Kind of deal, right? Like, I don't know if it was meant to be, and now we're worlds above everybody else as it relates to AI and every component underneath it. Like, I don't know that it was meant to be that. It's like we entered the space. Here it is, and now it's going to grow. Like, and so when I look at it through that lens, I'm a little more optimistic and a little more. It's a little more compelling to me when I think about it like that.
I agree. Right? I feel like I never expected it to be. And I know we touched on this a little bit last week. I think it was last week, where it was like, okay, on this podcast, we look at it like we know all these other things going on with mirror and tempo and tonal. And so we're talking about the guide and how it doesn't have a lot to offer compared to those products. However, if you're in the Peloton arena, you don't have any kind of strength that you're doing other than Peloton strength, this is a great product. This is a great way to get started, to be able to check your form. This is for people who don't necessarily know, like they don't have a good they're not really in touch with how their body moves or doesn't move. So like, how deep are you going on your squats? Well, using this camera, you're going to be able to see, are you actually getting parallel to the floor, or are you kind of like this, and you'll be able to see that improve over time. So those are definite benefits. And that's something that, unless you already have an actual mirror in your workout room, you're probably not paying that much attention to. You're just doing the moves.
And you don't have to pay an additional monthly subscription fee.
Ooh, that's a big
which
thing.
I think that's the biggest selling point. Like, the Peloton has reached a tipping point where so many people are in possession of a Peloton product that if they can come up with something that's close enough to scratch the itch of something like a mirror or a tempo, people are going to go, you know what? I don't have to have another monthly fee. Okay, good enough.
Also, there's a lot of people that don't like other content from other vendors.
Right.
I love tonal instructors and Peloton instructors, but they are very different. Mm-hmm. There are people that do not enjoy a tonal instructor as much as they enjoy a Peloton instructor. So if you don't like to get your strength workouts in that way, you have this whole other option that can be really good for you.
Right. And what you were talking about earlier, that was kind of my own epiphany, right? It's like I've been like deep into studying this space ever since 2019. So, and there's been a lot of evolution since 2019.
Yeah.
Along with kind of this whole AI thing kind of started right around 2019. So, in the area of fitness. So, yeah, I had like a different level of expectation that I don't know if the average user would have had. And I wasn't thinking in those terms until after I kind of, kind of listened to the reviews and kind of listened to what Peloton and how they're describing it and how they're presenting it to the world. And yeah, I kind of came to that place where you're at now as well. It's like, yeah, I think it probably works well for those that don't have that preconceived notion and or those that are already in the space really and don't want that dual subscription. There's a lot of reasons, it probably play.
Well, and also the exclusive content. I mean, I think that's a big deal for Peloton owners. I mean, we are some FOMO people. You know, we gotta have the newest stuff, and we gotta have it the fastest, and we're some Type A people. And so when you start saying, "Whoa, I've got these new programs, and nobody else can get them for 7 weeks," okay, I'll buy. I mean, I might not even use them, but I need to have them.
This is going to turn out to be just like the corner DVD guy, right? somebody going to have exclusive content recordings. Right.
At the flea market.
So yeah, I think it was in your group. I saw that just like there's all these links that you can get to the classes beforehand, but it's like
it already started.
It has already started. You can get to them even though they're exclusive, but I just feel like it's different when you have it and it's built in. It's like, I didn't need to do the janky workaround. I could just press a button and I got mine.
Yeah, you didn't need to be watching the movie and see the head of somebody in front of the person in the screen, while you're trying to watch the movie.
That's how I watch Batman Forever.
Exactly. I don't want the DVD copy. I want the Blu-ray original.
Right. It's all shaky. You don't need all that.
No.
I got you.
But I think a lot of
people... Notice we've bought those before,
Oh, we all have. But
man, the theater to DVD release window used to be like 6 or 8 months.
Yeah.
Right.
Now it's like 2 weeks. So
it's literally like 6 weeks now. But yeah, I mean, a million years ago, it was like almost a full year before something hit VHS.
Yeah. Right. So if you didn't go to the theater, you were bootlegging the DVDs, right?
Yeah. I had bowling Thursday nights. Erica's big in the movies. I'm not. Erica's big in the movies. She would come bowling with me just so that she could hit up the DVD guy who walked through the bowling alley with the DVDs. I got that Batman Forever. That's the only reason she went bowling with me.
Well, it's a win-win, if you ask me. But I do think that exclusive content is a big deal to people, and I do like that they have programs now that are like, they show you the split. They show you here's how often to work your upper body. Here's how often to work your lower body. They were really lacking that before. I am so glad to see some direction there.
Yeah. I like the what did they call it with Tono? I can't remember the name of the guy.
Little guy front and back.
Little guy front and back.
Little guy front and back.
Yeah.
I like the little guy front and back deal.
Yeah. He's pretty great.
Now they got me feeling
don't be hating on myself. Don't be hating on little guy front and back though.
No, I'm not hating on little guy front and back, but now my little guy front and back only shows like leg workouts. Because I do all my strength training in the garage. So now I don't like my little guy front and back. He looks all messed up. Now I might have to do some strength classes. Just so my little guy front and back looks right.
What if you played a Peloton upper body class while you did your upper body workout? What do you think about that?
I might have to do that because I'm not liking this two-tone little guy front and back. That ain't working.
At least you're not skipping leg day. Up. I mean,
right?
That's
you're really screwed up their metrics because they're like, normally people skip leg day, and this guy only does leg day.
That's all he does.
Yeah.
I don't like that visual. It's all messed up.
The data miners over at Peloton are like, our data shows us that John Mills doesn't have arms.
Well, I guess that explains.
That's why he's cutting the sleeves off.
Oh my God, we've solved all problems.
Now we know.
It's all coming full circle.
The mysteries have all been solved.
Yes. So overall, you think yes, no?
I think for people who don't have another strength product, this is great. I think for people who enjoy Peloton, Peloton strength already, this is great. It just gives them another layer. I think if you already have a tonal, I don't really think you need it. I mean, it might be fun to like switch it up. Don't get me wrong. I love switching it up, but I cannot imagine it taking the place of tonal because of the added instruction and the way that it adds on weights for me. I never have to guess. Whereas with Peloton, I'm still like, wait, do I try an 8 pound or a 10 pound? And then they're like, try a 10 pound. And then I'm like, oh no, I can't. I can do the rows, but I can't do the overhead presses. So then I'm switching it out, and now I miss 20 seconds, and now the EMOM's over, and I hate all that. Whereas with tonal, it's like, boop, we increased your weight. I don't have to think about it.
Yeah, like I literally have no idea how much I lift in any movement. I never pay attention.
You just do it.
I just do what it says. And every once in a while I have to go, well, you were wrong. We're going to take that down a tick. But yeah, but like I appreciate the confidence, but no, thank you.
I feel flattered, a little flattered. But.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, like I don't give it a second thought. I just do whatever it tells me to do. It's like being married.
Yeah. Wait, what?
What's funny is, we've had tonal for almost a year.
Yeah.
No one in here really uses a tonal. It just sits there.
I don't get that at all.
The guide comes out. I get up yesterday, maybe a couple of days ago. Erica she's doing a whole routine on the tonal. I don't know what inspired that, but I don't think it was the guy. But all of a sudden, she's doing this whole routine on the tonal. So I'm kind of happy about that. I want to see where that goes.
Yeah.
But the point you were talking about tonals giving you all that feedback and direction. Yeah, and you know how Mirror and Tempo are also trying to replicate that.
Absolutely.
Like Mirror now has the smart weights, and I think Tempo now has smart weights as well. And I know Tempo now is based on how the cadence in which you're lifting or doing a particular exercise. Now Tempo will go, wait a minute, you did that pretty quickly based on the weights that you're using. You should be going up. So they're giving recommendations now based on weight and cadence. Like they're trying to mimic that tonal capability. I suspect that at some point Mirror's going to try to mimic it as well. I got to assume they got smart weights now. You got a camera and you got smart weights. So I'm assuming they're going to try to mimic that. And so when I see those two things happening, it just takes me back to what we were talking about earlier. A Peloton now has a camera in your house when you're doing weight training. That could probably evolve to the same things these products have evolved to. And so I'm a little more optimistic, like about the future. Like I'm waiting to see, like, okay, where does this go based on how I saw Mirror and Tempo evolve.
But hopefully,
not to say that it's going to be any better than tonal. I'm not trying to compare.
Oh, I know.
I'm just saying they evolved to do things that are much more right.
And I was just going to tease Peloton and say, but hopefully we don't have to wait 5 years for that evolution, like we've been waiting for the rower. So that would be, they need to, if they're going to do that, if they're evolving and they're headed down that path, they need to get to it because these other products are way ahead of them. Yeah.
I listened to John Foley talk about like they're a technology company for years. And every time I would say that, I'd be like, okay. And then their release cycle is pretty fast. So, okay, if you're going to innovate, it's about to happen, right? So I'm with you. I'm like, okay, something's going to happen quick, right? And that sounds like what Uncle Barry was talking about, right? Didn't he say, the slowest we're going to go is fast or something like that? I don't know.
It was something like that, but I don't know. He's a crotchety old guy. I'm not sure about him.
I think that if there's questions about Uncle Barry.
Yeah, I don't know about Barry. I don't know. He's just real.
Uncle Barry.
He's real crabby. You know what? Barry can come on the show and talk to me then if Barry has issues with what I got to say.
Anytime.
Come on, Barry.
So I think that they'll probably sell a few of these at Christmas time because I think if your significant other loves their Peloton and they haven't pulled the trigger, this is a nice, easy thing to be like, oh, well, I'll throw that in the stack of gifts they get. Crystal gets a stack. $95? Yeah.
Put it in the stocking.
Yeah.
Well, another box kind of big.
I bet it's going to be a big hit at Mother's Day, quite frankly.
Yeah.
I bet there's a lot of them over Mother's Day.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can see it, like, if you're trying to figure out what to get for your significant other and they love Peloton, it just seems like an obvious choice of, like, you know what, for $300 there. I know you're on the fence about whether or not you want it. Now here it is.
Yeah. It's already included in your membership fee if you've got something else.
Right.
So might as well.
Yeah.
Right? That's right. That's a win-win. You pay the $295, and then you don't have to pay a membership for your significant other. You're done with the $295.
Yeah.
So our official review, might as well.
The official review is, all right.
Why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
Sure.
That'll be in all their ads. Clip Out Crystal says, fuck it.
Clip Out Crystal said, all right.
Yeah. Well, awesome.
love
Well,
it.
thank you, John, for joining us to drill down on the guide. And also, if you have a guide at home, don't actually drill down on it.
No, don't do that.
Yeah, like just the legal asked us to say
Not
that. So,
covered under warranty.
yeah.
Oh, that don't be covered.
No.
Yes, that will void your warranty.
Yes.
But until next
That
week.
will avoid it.
Yes. Until next week, where can people find you?
They can find me in my Facebook page or group, Run, Lift, and Live. They can find me on Instagram, Run, Lift, and Live. They can find me on the Tickety Talk, Run, Lift, and Live. Or they can find me at runliftandlive.com.
It's Run, Live, and Live.
Live.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. I'm going to go register the domain name Run, Lift, or Live. And then redirect
Run,
it.
maybe lift,
Yeah.
and live. I'm
going to redirect it to Dirty Pirate Hookers.
Don't forget the ampersand.
Yes.
All right. Bye, John.
Talk to you guys later.
See you later.
Getting the psychological edge with Dr. Jen.
Okay.
So joining us again via the magic of ZoomTube is Dr. Jen Mann, licensed marriage, family, and child therapist and sports psychology consultant. You may know her from VH1's Couples Therapy with Dr. Jen or VH1's Family Therapy with Dr. Jen. Her long-running radio show, The Dr. Jen Show. She's written 4 best-selling books, including The Relationship Fix, Dr. Jen's 6-Step Guide to Improving Communication, Connection, and Intimacy. It's Dr. Jen. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, so glad to have you. I feel like we're gonna like hit all of your expertise today because the question I have for you is actually threefold. There are 3 different individuals that have written in, but they have very similar questions. Stephanie Ward is one of them. She just had surgery, so she can't run or lift for 6 weeks. And then we have Tina Hatch, who is just starting to get back into working out. She sprained her ankle a couple of weeks ago. She was in a boot for 6 weeks. Now she's like really dealing with being scared to get back on the bike. And she's also struggling with her motivation. And then we have Paul Erickson. He has an injury. He's not even sure yet what it is. It might be a bruised bone, might be a plantar fasciitis. And so all of them are dealing with motivation and working through this injury. What can we do?
Okay, well, a few things. First of all, Paul needs to get himself to his doctor. He needs to make sure that he knows exactly what's wrong so that he can treat it, because otherwise he's just going to keep re-injuring himself. So, Paul, we need to kind of almost put you in a separate category, because you've got to get to the bottom of this and recover. And even before you start working out again, you need to know for sure that your doctor is okay with you working out, that that's the right choice for you. So with these other 2 ladies, it sounds like they've got the green light, that they are able to go back to working out, that their doctors have okayed it, but now they're in that kind of weird zone that we all get in when we've been away from our bike, away from our tread for a long period of time, where I think a lot of the time, especially when you have been doing Peloton for a long time, there's a level that you hit. And then when you have to step and come back, there's a lot of anxiety about, am I going to be at that level? How far have I fallen? How quick will I be able to get back? Will I be able to recover? Especially, I don't know the ages of these women, but as we get older, we tend to get a little more anxiety about, will I recover? Will I get to that level again? And how long? So I think that the first thing is to kind of give yourself a little grace and to understand that it takes a while, no matter who you are, no matter what age you are, it takes a while, and you're going to have to be patient with your process. And you need to come back under the assumption that you are going to be at a way lower level, and that you need to really just congratulate yourself for getting on the bike, for taking a yoga class, for picking up the weight, for just starting again. And you've got to start gentle. That is one of the biggest mistakes that people make, is that they start at the level that they were at, or they're like, oh, well, I was working out an hour a day, 5 days a week, so now I'll work out 45 minutes, 5 days a week. No, you've got to start really light. I recommend talk to a trainer, talk to a sports physiologist, talk to your doctor, talk to someone who knows about this, so that you can ease back gently. Because we also want you to have the experience of success. Because the next, we want to set you up to succeed, because we tend to be more motivated when we succeed. So if you say, you know what, I'm going to go do a power zone class, I'm going to do an hour-long class, you're going to be upset, you're going to be discouraged, you're not going to be motivated. But if you say, I'm going to start with a 15 or 20-minute low-impact ride, I'm going to see how I feel, and it goes well, you're going to be motivated. You're going to be like, oh, wow, I'm doing better than I thought. I would much rather that people had that experience. So start light and build. Start to really kind of give yourself the bare bones of what will feel good and give you a small sense of accomplishment, not compared to before, but compared to laying on your couch recovering from an injury, and then layer. As each week goes by, you want to start to layer. Okay, so I started doing bike. Okay, that didn't hurt my foot. I was able to do that. Okay, next week I'm going to start adding some upper body weights while I'm on the bike, or I'm going to start to do some core class, or I'm going to add in some yoga. But don't go from that to like, okay, now I'm going to run hardcore on the tread. Once you get on the tread, start with walking, then do maybe some walk-run classes, work your way up, but don't overdo it. That is really one of the biggest mistakes that people make when they are coming back from an injury.
So I feel like being that we're so many type A personalities in this group.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly, right? But like, it's hard to tell yourself it's okay to start gentle. It's okay to start low. Do you have any tips on how they can mentally get in a good headspace to go easy on themselves? I
believe that Peloton and our workouts are a microcosm for how we function in the world. And I think that the life lessons that we need to learn in the bigger world are often the life lessons we need to learn in our workouts. And I think that most people who are coming from that perspective need to learn how to be more gentle with themselves, need to learn how to be more accepting, need to learn how to be patient, need to learn those emotional skills. So I think it's important to look at this as an opportunity to say, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to be more patient, to be more kind with myself, that I'm going to try to break old habits and to use this as this really wonderful chance to do things differently and break patterns that have probably gone back decades.
Well said. Well said. Good reminder, Dr. Jen. Good reminder.
Yeah, all I could think is clearly I'm not type A.
Yeah. But I know someone quite close to you that is.
Oh, I know. I'm like type C minus.
Yeah.
I spent the whole segment thinking like, so what's the least amount of injury I could get and still not have to work out?
Yeah.
Oh.
So it sounds like it may be time for you to take a day off. Maybe.
Well, we just went on our cruise, so I took a couple days off. So
and look, I think that burnout is also a thing, and I think people also have to be careful when they find themselves getting injured that they're not training so hard that they're burning themselves out. You know, like for me, and Crystal can speak to this, that I've had to really learn to take a week off here and there. That like that's been really challenging for me. And as your wife knows, we were going to do a run. She's like, "Are we doing a run this weekend?" I was like, I've done 5 days off. I was on the fence about whether I was doing 7 and I kind of got to do this run. She's like, it sounds like you need another day off. And I was like, well, Crystal says, so I'm going to do that. And I have to say, I was really glad I did. Like this week, I'm having like killer runs. Like I just did a 30-minute with Olivia and I just killed it. Like I had my incline up. Like I was running at an 8, which is major for me. Like I just feel like, oh my God, I'm so refreshed. And I think that we also really have to look at when it comes to injuries, when it comes to not feeling motivated, are we doing too much? Have we given ourselves enough downtime?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I'm so glad it worked. Yay.
The student has become the teacher.
Exactly.
How about that?
Exactly.
So much easier to hear other people's issues than my own.
Yeah.
Always is. That's why I shrink.
And we each have our role, student, teacher, class clown. So that works out well. So thank you very much for joining us. Until next week, where can people find you?
You can always find me on social media at Dr. Jen Mann, 2 N's on Jen, 2 N on Mann. I post all of my Peloton workouts on my Insta stories. You can also find me every week in InStyle magazine, Hump Day with Dr. Jen. I have a weekly column that's all sex and relationship advice.
Wonderful. Awesome. Thank you.
Instructors in the news.
So Aditi Shah was featured on thejuggernaut.com.
Yes, and they were featuring her because, well, she's Aditi Shah, first of all. But they kind of like placed it as she's the only South Asian instructor at Peloton. So they kind of gave her a little bit of her own place.
Right.
And they talked about yoga, how she got involved in yoga, how she moved to the U.S. There were a lot of really great background details in here. I see that you did not register, Tom.
I did not register for whatever the juggernaut.com is.
I will tell you, anybody out there who wants to read this article and you're like, oh man, it's paid. It's not paid. You can get to it for free for 7 days. So if you want to take the time to do that, it's not as difficult as it sounds. Just remember to cancel 7 days later. But it's a really great article. I really enjoyed it. And I loved hearing Aditi's background. Also, you might have noticed on social media that her mom had been here recently, and it looked to me like her mom was here to do this article.
Oh, wow.
Like, because they were featured in pictures together.
Yeah.
And it was some of the same kinds of pictures I saw Aditi posting on her social media, and her mom just left and went back. So I feel like she might have been here specifically for that, which is just really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Kirsten Ferguson was featured on the Allie on the Run podcast.
Yep, episode 505. You can hear Kirsten's interview with Allie and find out all about her background. Did you know that Kirsten is married to like a super famous football player?
I did not, but I don't know any football players. So unless it's like Tom Brady.
Yeah, that's fair. It's not Tom Brady.
Joe Montana.
Also not Joe Montana.
Or Mac Davis from North Dallas 40.
None of those people.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, we're not super into sports. Anyway, listen to the show.
Michelle K.
She's back. Hi, Michelle.
Shape.com. They, well, I shouldn't say they, she. They meaning Shape, she meaning Michelle K.
Yes.
Sat down with Emma Lovewell.
Yep. And they discussed strategies that Emma Lovewell uses to navigate anxiety. Which I just find interesting because, you think of people who are super successful and you're like, well, you never feel anxious, right? You know what I mean? Like, it's like you have everything. Why would you be anxious?
Because what if it all went away?
I don't know.
That's why you're anxious.
Well, it's working for her, whatever she's doing. So thanks, Michelle, for sharing those strategies.
Self.com talked to Tunde.
She did.
About not worrying about other people's opinions. She'd rather put her focus on love.
Yeah, and there were some really great quotes in here. My favorite was when she talked about other people, like the person interviewing her was like, well, you're a wonderful instructor. You're my favorite, but you're not everybody's favorite. How do you deal with that? And she was like, no, nobody's everybody's favorite. Yeah. She's like, there's people that don't like Beyonce. I say that, Tunde. I say that.
You probably said it during our interview with her, and then she was like,
That's probably
I'm filing that away.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
More like the other way around. But don't forget, her book is coming out soon, so you'll be able to read great little stories like this very, very soon.
Peloton in the news.
There is a new way to get yourself a Peloton bike.
Yeah, we talked about this a while back, that there were like, I don't know, 6 cities, 13 cities. I can't remember.
Yeah.
It started small. But there were zip codes where you could go and you could lease a bike, a Peloton bike. So the interesting thing is that now it has grown to several more cities, and it also has grown to include the Bike Plus. And they were only trying this for like 30 days. Now they've extended it through June. So it is going to be going a lot further, a lot longer than originally expected. Now, I understand, I haven't read all this super clearly, but my understanding is that if you already have a Peloton bike,
Right.
you can't do this. I don't know if that's true. That's what somebody told me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What? Huh. I guess they don't want you just getting one for the summer or something. I
know.
wonder if people will do that in the certain
People
zip
will
codes.
absolutely
like,
do that.
I'll have one shipped to my lake house.
Yeah, for sure they
Yeah.
will. I mean, they have it in like Natick. Like there's all kinds of summer homes in that area, you
Yeah.
know, like up in that by the shore.
Right.
Like I know what I'm talking about. People are probably like, that's not even right. You know what I mean though.
So Connect the Watts talks about the guide and their secret strategy, timed exclusives.
Yeah, and we talked about this with when we were just talking to John a little bit ago. So I know we already kind of covered this, but I really do think that people are underestimating the power of this.
Yeah.
I believe that the author of this article is dead on. We cannot stand as Peloton users the FOMO. We hate missing out. We hate it. If everybody's at the up there at the studio, we got to be at the studio.
Yeah.
If somebody's taking a special class, we got to be taking the special class. So the fact that they have these exclusive programs, I'm telling you, it's pushing people to buy it. I can't tell you how many times I have written like my thoughts on the guide and mentioned the exclusive content, and then in the comments I have FOMO, bought it. Like that is the response. So it is absolutely working. It's absolutely working. But the interesting thing is it's only exclusive for 7 weeks. So you can get to it. You just have to be patient. But guess what? We're not patient.
Well,
we're type A's.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about it, if you're like, oh, you only got to wait 7 weeks, why does anybody go to a movie theater?
Very good point.
Right? Like
Very good point.
I mean, you only got to wait 7 weeks and it'll be on home video. So
I think the price point really helps in
Yeah.
conjunction with this, because it's like it's low enough that it's like, I might as well get it so I can do classes with my friends.
I agree. I think going from $4.95 to $2.95 is a game changer for getting people off the fence.
Especially when you already have weights, you
Yeah.
know, like if you already have weights and you already have a heart rate monitor, which I forgot to mention earlier, does not work with the Apple Watch, at least now, but it does work with my Whoop, and it works with several other types of heart rate monitors. So it doesn't bother me, but you can still get your strain score for people that want to use your Apple Watch. I think it's coming.
Interesting. And while we're talking about the guide, we should also address the fact that it has a voice assistant baked into it.
It does. Yeah. I don't feel like this is getting a whole lot of coverage, which is why I included this. And I don't know how often I will use it.
Right.
We have enough products in our home that they all get confused. We got Bixby and Google, and now we got Peloton.
Yeah.
And if you say, okay, Peloton, and you tell it to do something, it does it. But I will say super convenient on the pausing. Super convenient. Already used it. And when the dog does run into the room,
Your pause button.
PAWS
Yes.
comes into play. Yeah, because you can say, okay, Peloton, pause. And you can also say, okay, Peloton, rewind 20 seconds. And it will do that. So I do think that this is, it's something is being overlooked. People are not really talking about it that much. But I do think in households where you have a lot of like interruptions, things going in and out, I think this is a very big deal. And I think people probably are underutilizing it thus far. It'll be interesting to see if the popularity of that feature grows over time.
Or rolls out to other devices.
Ooh.
Didn't think about that, did you?
I was so focused on this. It
Yeah.
makes total sense.
That's why you have me on the show. For wonderful insight like that.
Yep, that's why.
And dick jokes.
That's really why.
Yes.
But
So Peloton has yet another new programming.
Yeah, I mean, I told you guys that when they came out with Tunde's podcast, there was going to be more programming, and I was right. Here we now have a new YouTube product coming out. So this is important because people seem to totally be misunderstanding this. They think, and they could be right, I have no idea, that it is classes that you can take on the tread. But thus far, Peloton is saying it is only available on YouTube. It will be interesting to see if they move it over to the tread. But right now it's called On the Leaderboard with Peloton, and it features an instructor interviewing a famous guest with questions that accelerate over the workout. So they have started with Joe Jonas and Usain Bolt. Also interesting, people's reaction to this.
What sort of reaction?
Not good.
Really?
Now, I think there's kind of a split down the middle. There's people that showed up during the pandemic. They don't really care. They just kind of expect this kind of thing from Peloton. But people that have been around a while, no, they are not happy. They are like, why is Peloton so focused on celebrities? Why aren't they interviewing us little people? It's another way that Peloton has separated themselves from the regular person.
Yeah.
People have compared them to us. Like, why are you guys not interviewing us? We're not good enough. That is how it's coming across to people. Now, of course, you always have people that complain about these things. So I'm not saying that's how everyone feels, but I am seeing it a lot.
And they do have, quote unquote, interviews with regular
Tunde,
people.
With Tunde.
But, well,
not on this one.
Yeah, but I was saying that, the only one I listened to with a regular person wasn't really an interview. It was like someone else interviewed them and they clipped it together. It wasn't actually talking to Tunde, but they have spotlighted like regular folk.
They have, but it's not with the instructors. It's like the way it's coming across, the way that people are perceiving it. I'm not saying this is the way Peloton intends it, but the way that it is being perceived is that the regular folk aren't good enough to interact with the instructors for this type of thing. That's the way it's coming across.
Yeah.
So it will be interesting. However, having said that, it's insanely popular already and people are downloading it like crazy. So I don't think Peloton's really that worried about it.
Yeah, I mean, the metric is numbers, and and also it kind of helps cement the idea that the instructors are celebrities. And it's, you love Van Halen, you don't get, well, nobody gets to talk to Eddie anymore, but you know what I'm saying? Like you don't get to just hang out with them. It doesn't work like that.
I think it's just harder on the people that have been around for a long time. Just like when we went to homecoming and the instructors were like suspended in the air in the balcony above us.
Right. Where the year before it was literally a cocktail party and you just stood there and talked to them.
Yeah, it was a big difference and it did not go unnoticed.
Peloton has made some changes to their warranty program.
They sure have. Yeah. Now this is super, super interesting.
Yeah, so John Mills had pointed this out.
He did, yeah. So I feel like this is interesting because in the past, Peloton always had a stance that if you used anything third party with your equipment, it did not count. And so
like it would automatically void the warranty.
Regardless of if it hurt it, if it didn't hurt it, does not matter. But now they're saying the warranty still applies to the Peloton branded components as long as the failure is not caused by the third party accessory or caused by the installation of the third party accessory. So I think this is probably going to lead to some more fights, but it's a good thing to change. So now all those things like the extender where you can put the thing on there and pivot your monitor. Like that's great because that's something people can use now.
Well, it's also good because there's things like the WiseOwl tray that we talked about that you have that it's like, I've always wondered, that's a third party accessory. Could they technically say, not honoring your warranty, you had a third party accessory on your bike when there's no way that tray could damage your bike or cause any harm, but it could be utilized as a loophole. I feel like it also removes that as a potential concern.
Absolutely.
I wonder, here's my marketing machinations at play.
All right.
I wonder if this is them getting ready to open up.
That's exactly where I was headed.
Third parties to sell officially licensed Peloton accessories.
I totally agree, Tom, and I think it is. And the other interesting thing is the second part of the change is that the Peloton Protection Plan is now transferable to a new owner if they sell or gift the product. This is huge. This has never been the case before. If you had the original 1-year warranty, always was That was part of it.
Because that's like a manufacturer's warranty that follows the bike.
Yes, but this is the extended warranty, and the extended warranty is now transferable. Anything that was sold April 5th, 2022 or after is transferable. That is fascinating.
Yeah. So if you've had it for a while, yours is not, just to be clear. But anyone basically moving forward, it is transferable. So that is also fascinating, because it also makes it easier to sell your bike on the secondary market, and you would think that they would want to discourage that.
The Coop Out.
Joining us once again via the magic of ZoomTube, here to answer your nutrition questions, it's Angelo from MetPro. Hey, Angelo.
Hi.
Hey guys, good to see you.
I am so glad you're here. I put out kind of like the bat signal, and I asked at the Clip Out community, like, what are you guys struggling with nutrition? And boy, it must be a bad month, because we haven't gotten this many responses in a while. Like, it was like everybody simultaneously struggling.
It's because summer's almost here.
I think that might be it. So we had like 3 people that are struggling with how much they just love food. So we've got Todd Kolvaski. Pizza is delicious. So is French fries. Brian Miller says
I like Todd.
Brian Miller says he wouldn't call it a struggle, but he loves food. Chicken wings, gravy, loads of ranch dressing, big gigantic steak.
You had me till ranch dressing, but other than that.
Oh, but Tom, hold on.
Okay.
I'll take the ranch dressing. Holy moly. That's my
the
weakness.
smell of it makes me gag.
You guys are both going to love this. He hates all fruits, nothing more gross in the world. And then Susan Rate Conway says her off switch or lack thereof at night. I feel like all of those are related. And so whatever you say can help all of them.
Well, one of those is a match made in heaven for Tom there.
I know,
with
right?
The not like fruits and vegetables. So.
Yeah.
Yes.
As you know very well.
We would be a bad combo. We'd be like Sid and Nancy.
I don't know. I just hope that wherever you guys go, you're going to have to order, whatever you're getting on your plate with a side of stool softener. But I don't know.
Gross.
Can I say that? Is that good for ratings?
Yeah,
You talk about
Sure,
absolutely.
people love stool softener.
We love when we talk about poop-related things.
We did our call-out research, and stool softener came back strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfectly normal intro. This is how we start every one of our little blips, isn't it?
Yeah.
So here's the deal. Todd, Brian, and Susan, you are all normal. That's the deal. You're all normal, because food is one of the few things that human beings derive the most pleasure from. We get so much pleasure out of good food and drink. So I'm going to tell you a solution, and it's going to be, you're going to say, okay, that makes sense, but it is harder to implement than it is just to say it. But the solution is you don't have to give up foods that you enjoy. You don't have to give up indulgences. What you have to do is you have to have a very strong routine in place. So that way, those indulgences are truly that. They're special occasion. You go out. In fact, I have clients all the time. Whenever they start with me, people are gung-ho, like, Angelo, I know, I've seen the transformations, or my friend did this and I can't wait. And I am not going to eat out or cheat for a month. And then I explain to them everything you just said was wrong, because that's not going to happen. What we're looking for is, they say, well, I've got this, it's our anniversary, or I have this special occasion, it's coming up. Like, what do I do? I'm so stressed out. And they always are shocked at my answer. My answer is, I want you to go and I want you to eat whatever you want and enjoy yourself. I said, here's the deal. Between now and that event, 3 weeks from now, you're going to have 87 meals. I want you to get 82 of them on track. And the one meal that you're going out and have a special occasion, it's not going to amount to anything significant. So the solution is not give up forever the hot wings or pizza or things that taste good. The key is, if it's Tuesday at 1 p.m, I don't want you eating pizza. I don't want you eating hot wings. I don't want you eating chocolate cake. Tuesday at 2 p.m, you have your routine. You've already had a clean breakfast. You had a prepared or a principled lunch. You have an afternoon snack that's already packed and ready to go. And what's going to happen is that's going to set you up for a cadence of two things. One, when you're eating clean, healthy, good foods, the majority of the time, it's not going to leave as much room in your belly for the junk foods, for the foods that aren't helping you reach your goals. The other thing it's going to do is it's going to decrease. Now, I say decrease, not eliminate, because chocolate still tastes good, but it's going to decrease cravings. When you have macronutrients, proteins, carbs, fats in relative proportion and at regular intervals throughout the day, it has the effect of stabilizing your blood sugar. So again, chocolate still tastes good, but you're not going to get as much of that walking down the road. All of a sudden you're hit with this lightning craving that we all can go, I know what that feels like. It'll reduce the frequency. And then at night, make sure that your core dinner has been overall healthy and you've had enough of the healthy food. Then if you do feel like you're going to go back and you need to eat something else, grab seconds of that healthy dinner. And if you still want a snack, a treat or something, at that point, you're going to be able to indulge without letting it take over. I'll give one more piece of advice on snacking that I don't think I've shared in previous episodes, but it was a conversation I just had with a client. And we were talking about how an off meal versus poor snacking habits, which is worse.
Oh.
What do you think, Tom? Which is worse?
I think the poor snacking habits is worse.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that is the same conclusion we came to, and here's why. If you sit down in one instance and you have a meal in one shot, and it's not the greatest meal, but it's off track, you're only going to do so much damage. But we were comparing that against, I think we were talking about events like Super Bowl parties and things where I said, well, what are you going to have for your meal? And he says, I'm not going to eat a meal. I'm just going to snack on foods throughout the day. It is amazing how quickly you can put away a bag of chips or the chips and salsa, the pretzels, or those snack go-to foods, because over the course of a few hours, you can eat a couple bags. It happens. It happens to the best of us without thinking of it. And if you ever look at the back of a bag, the family size bag of potato chips, and take a look at the calories on one bag.
No, thank you.
Oh my goodness. They're designed to be so addictive too. Everything from the smell to the crunch to the salt. I know I'm not helping. I was going to run out of that. But if you can replace that with whole foods and corral it into meal times where if there's something you want to indulge in it, but also have the good foods, that's really going to help. And then if you want something more specific, if you say, look, I have this event in, 6 weeks and I want to be at X weight, or I want to reduce body fat, or I want to build muscle, whatever your performance goals are. Well, we can build you a bite for bite meal plan that you can, make that sacrifice, dig deep, engage in. This is what I do. Crystal, you do this. And we can, we can make this happen for you. But if you're just looking for habits, start with an overarching routine. Instead of figuring out how can I stop eating XYZ, figure out how can I start eating a breakfast, lunch, dinner, or breakfast, lunch, and snack that's relatively clean, and that'll really get you off the ground and going.
So it's like that old Irish adage, moderation in all things, including moderation.
Yes,
you got it.
That's exactly right.
That's it. You got it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. If people would like you or people like you to help them with their nutrition and fitness journeys, what is the best way to find you?
metpro.co/TCO.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
In case you missed it.
So a while back, people got notified that if they had done 15,000 minutes, they were going to get a special gift. And those gifts are now starting to roll out.
They sure are. And it is a top and a bottom. So I've seen leggings and tanks. I've seen tanks and shorts. And it seems to be like women got leggings and tanks and men got shorts and tanks.
Oh, that makes sense.
It does. But it's obviously Exactly what we thought. It's old inventory
Right.
because it is not, there is not the same thing over and over again. It's like a hodgepodge
Right.
of inventory. So
Interesting.
It is. And I also think it's interesting. It arrived mid-April. I really thought it would be closer to homecoming and they would use that, but they did not.
Well, I think that's a great usage of old inventory,
Absolutely.
especially since they used to blow that out at the sale, and I'm sure it wasn't really netting them much money at the end of the day.
And we can't have the sale this year.
And you can't have it, so I think that's a great usage. I know that some people might be like, "Oh, it's leftover stuff," but it's free, and you
It's
weren't expecting it in
sure.
the first place. So
Right.
shut your pie hole. I'll say it because
complaining.
Peloton can't. Seabury, this is why John liked us.
Checking in with the Peloton community.
So joining us today via the magic of ZoomTube is John Amussen. Hey, John, how's it going?
Hi.
Going good. How are you doing?
Good. We're glad to have you here. Thank you for being so flexible with your schedule. I know we had a little scheduling
It's
snafu.
just a global pandemic.
No big
It
deal.
happens.
No big deal.
So I have to ask, you're sitting in front of a dry erase board. There aren't any like trade secrets, or you didn't write all your like passwords on there or anything?
All my passwords are password.
Oh, okay. Well, then
Good to know.
you don't even need to write it down.
Yeah. No, it's not trade secrets. It's stuff I got to get done at some
Okay.
point.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to let you know in case you'd forgotten. That
I'm aware, but thank you.
We don't have the
I appreciate the operational security.
we don't have the skill set to blur it out later. So
Yeah, well, I thought about doing that, but the blur feature on Zoom is kind of wonky. So
Yeah.
It is. So now I know you were sharing a little bit about your friend on the table behind you before we started recording, but I feel like people at home need to know about this too.
Okay. So in a past life, I worked for, a couple of movie studios, but one of them was 20th Century Fox, and I was there when they made There's Something About Mary, and that is Puffy the dog, from some not the actual dog who's been embalmed or anything like that. Just
good.
yes,
just want to be
stuffed
clear on
animal
that.
version. Yeah.
This is PETA endorsed or something like that, I assume. And my wife was not sure about having it at home. We didn't have a lot of space for it, and so I just take it to my office whenever I.
It's a small dog.
Yeah.
It's a small dog, but when you have a 3-bedroom house and 8-year-old twins, you don't have as much space as you might otherwise have.
Fair enough.
I guess it's better than lugging the hair gel around.
That's
There's a straight line in there about how you could just create it, but
Yeah. Like Doritos, crunch all you want. We'll make more.
okay.
They did actually make that as a
I
promotion.
know I had that.
I used to
actually
have
had
it
a
too,
little thing
like-
of something about Mary hair gel.
Yeah, because I
got
worked
rid
at a
of it.
radio station at the time, and so we would get all the movie promo items to give away at remotes and stuff, and I had like a case of Something About Mary hair gel sitting at my desk for a while. Yeah,
You guys have your
It's a little
stuff.
scary, isn't it?
It is
Yeah.
a little bit.
we do have our stuff. honey. We do have our stuff.
Stop it.
But
So John.
John and I have equal need for hair gel. Though.
Moving on.
You never know when a
John,
friend's going to have. Anyway,
how did you originally find Peloton?
well, I'd known about Peloton, but and this goes back to my days in the movies. I am not the world's best prognosticator. For example, I used to work at Paramount, and they were working on Forrest Gump, and I thought, I'd read the synopsis, and I'm like, no one's going to see this movie. So you can tell, I probably shouldn't make stock bets either.
No, hang on. In your defense, have you ever seen the footage of Tom Hanks doing a read for an audition with, I guess it's Haley Joel Osment, I think, that ends up playing his son at the end?
Mhm.
And he's doing the read. He hasn't figured out the voice yet. And so he's just reading it as Tom Hanks. And it is the creepiest thing you've ever seen in your life. It's that movie lives and dies on that performance. When he doesn't do the voice, everything that comes out of his mouth sounds creepy.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. Yeah.
Well, I used to say, I went to business school and I worked on the business side of film, and I used to go and talk to business students, and people would talk about how movies are so bad. I said, you don't understand, my parents worked in publishing, and when they got a manuscript, they were experiencing it the way people who buy the book are an experience. They're reading. Right. But you get a script, and there are like 8 million things that can go wrong between the time someone reads the script and it goes on screen. And the miracle is that they're good movies at all.
Absolutely.
Such a great point.
I talk about that on my movie podcast all the time. Like when we're really trashing a movie, I'm like, it's a bad movie, but in fairness, we need to remember there's so many variables that, and sometimes there's movies that aren't good, but you still love them. Like Caddyshack is not that good of a movie, but there's just something about it that makes you love it. So like sometimes there's these intangible features that you just don't even understand why it works at all, but it does. It's
my wife is a writer and editor and producer, and it's also really hard to write a good script.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. Yeah. I cannot imagine. I think about this so much more now that we do the podcast than I ever did in my life before that. But like, just when you put yourself out there and like, it's hard to do. So doing that as a writer or an editor, producer, doing that and then having the entire world judge it is like, that's awful.
There's a producer, named Linda Obst, who wrote a book about how to be a kind producer. She was not, in fact, that kind to people, but she had a really good point for writers, which is don't take notes from people who don't like your script.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
And then criticism applies. Like if people just think your podcast sucks, then taking notes from them doesn't make any sense. But people like your podcast and say, but maybe, and
Yeah. It is all in the, I don't take people seriously who are just mean, just in general, because you just can't please everybody. But you're right. I tend to listen most carefully to people who are polite about how they bring it up. Because you can't, there's no expectation from me that we do everything perfectly, but I do think that people could just be nice. So I like the fact that she wrote about how to be a nice producer, and I hope that
probably easier to sell than just telling people to yell at people.
Yeah,
that's true.
Plus, that's easy. I know how to yell at people. I don't need any help.
So anyway, I digress. So I had known about Peloton, and I thought, I don't know, I just don't see why. And at the time, I belonged to a gym. My wife belonged to a gym. And in retrospect, I was an idiot because, of course, it was really hard for me to go to the gym during the week because I work at a school, so I have to get there early. It's really hard to do any sort of group fitness thing before school and be there on time. But I was doing it. And then the pandemic hit. I am in no way an OG. And my wife turned to me at one point. It was like the Monday after everything shut down. And she said, I think we should get a Peloton. And I think that was like March 20 something. And she didn't really have to push me that hard. It's like, yeah, that makes sense. We're not going back to the gym for a while. And there are people who are saying, yeah, we're going to be home from school for 4 to 6 weeks. And at that point, this is where my prognostication is good. I said, oh, you are deluded. We are not going back for a long time. I
said the same thing.
And so, yeah, let's do it. And it showed up in June with, and I had spin shoes that fit because I also ride outside. She did not. The shoes that came were too small. So I actually got on the bike first, which kind of bummed for her. But I got on the bike first, and my first ride was actually with Leanne. I did the Brits first because they had the live classes at 6 a.m. Pacific time.
Yes.
And then, I was like Kendall and Olivia, and then I found a Power Zone class. And and to show you how crazy I am, literally the next class I took was the FDP test. So
you jumped right in.
I jumped right. I'm a little crazy like that. And so I got into the Power Zone stuff pretty seriously, and that's where I do most of my stuff. But I like to get out and about in the Peloton universe, and I discovered more of the strength. The hard part about that was, as hard as it was to get a Peloton early in the pandemic, it was harder to get weights.
For sure.
Yeah. I found a set of weights. Like I got the last one, and they came in pieces, and like half the weights just got lost in transit, which basically means like a UPS driver just decided he was going to take him home or something. I don't know, but they
Sell them on
Maybe
Craigslist.
sold them. Yeah.
so finally, it took about 5 or 6 months to get a full set of weights, and then I started doing the strength stuff. And my wife is doing this too. But our entire lives changed for the better because I'm an early morning person. I would get up a little before 6. I'd do my ride, stretch, take a shower. She'd get up. In the pandemic, we were giving the kids breakfast and I would take off. She would handle the first hour of school. And we were very fortunate we had someone help us when they were learning from home.
Oh,
come in, because my wife is now a producer on The Bachelor. So she
Ooh.
has, and I can't tell you anything because it's a lot of money. And actually, there are two things. I don't actually know anything.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I know little. I don't know anything because she doesn't tell me anything, and I'm not interested. And if I knew anything, they would basically own me and my heirs for the rest of eternity. So
I understand.
But obviously she has a lot of responsibilities and editors calling into her, and so her life went from, in the before times, as we call it. She would take them to school. She would go to the gym. She'd have to wait like 20 minutes for the class to start. She'd take the class. She'd take a shower. She'd go home. They live in Los Angeles, and going home, this is a 2.25 mile drive, maybe, but at that hour could take 25 minutes.
Yeah, I was like, I know LA is notorious for.
Well, on this particular, we're sort of off of a cut through, and so she would get home at 10 o'clock and be right into it. Now I take the kids to school on my way to work, having worked out already. She can have a little bit of coffee in her, which is really important for world peace. And and then she gets on the bike and does her thing. She does rides one day and strength the next, and she can like deal with editors while she's on the bike texting, and then gets off. And at 9 o'clock she's ready to go. And one of the things about the pandemic, a lot of people working from home, a lot of editors have scattered. So there are people in different time zones working at different times, and she can connect with them at different times. And so they don't have to wait for her, and it's become much more efficient. We're not spending money going back and forth to and from the gym or trying to find a class that meets the schedule. And, I belong to Equinox. I guess I can say that. I liked Equinox a lot. I'm friends with the woman who is still there, and it's a really good gym and they have great instruction, but it doesn't make any sense anymore, right? It doesn't. And she was doing a lot of indoor spinning there. She did that. She's a swimmer at heart, and she did the Alcatraz swim.
Oh, cool.
Oh, that's
not because she was like locked up there or anything, but
she'd have to be pretty old.
No. But they have these Alcatraz swims, and she did it. But she did a lot of the cardio training on the bike. And every Sunday she would go and do ocean swims down, in Manhattan Beach. Later finding out she was right near a great white shark nursery.
Awesome.
She told her friends not to tell her about sharks until after the Alcatraz swim, and they made the mistake of telling her the night before. So
that was no mistake.
No.
That was no mistake. They were like, they all got together. They were like, okay, here's what we're gonna do.
That's mean.
So she did not sleep well the night before the swim, but it all worked out. But she really felt like the indoor cycling helped her with her endurance. And now she's she's also completely into Power Zone and using that to build her base so that when she can go back to swimming, which she does want to do at some point, she hasn't lost that cardiovascular ability, because she did go back to swimming a little bit this summer and then backed off as everything went to hell again. So
yeah, it's the Peloton is great for that. There's so many triathletes that we've met through Peloton that they train so much on Peloton. I mean, I've met so many great people, Chris Gallant and Chrissy Blackwood and Tracy Paulman. They all were like huge factors in me being part of the Atlantic City half Ironman. I did a relay there. I did not do the full thing, just to be clear, but I did do the running portion of it, and on a team, and it was so fun. And I wouldn't have done any of that if I hadn't met so many great people who do that. And and
I stood at the finish line and waited.
He did, and it was in the rain.
It was in the rain.
So
yeah.
Well, that was really hard, and I'm proud of you.
do I get a medal? No.
Yeah. It's really helpful. I mean, and I used to bike outside a lot, way back when I did the California Age Ride twice, which was San Francisco to LA. It's 7 days. And
Oh, wow.
There's a bit of climbing involved, but it's all the doable pace and everything's pretty much taken care of for you, but you have to have done a fair amount of training. And I remember doing that. And when I was first training, I was doing spinning, and I came back and I was telling the woman who's teaching the class, I can tell the difference because I have so much more power in reserve. It's not that I was a lot faster. It's just that if I needed to push it, all of a sudden I could. And same thing, I went mountain biking with a friend. I'm not a mountain biker by any stretch, but I had the same thing around a steep hill, and I could just gun it up and get where I had to go. So that was a really real advantage of indoor cycling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Way back in the day before. Yeah.
I was just going to say real quick, I know I had a similar experience. I know, not to biking for 7 days.
We all know that didn't happen.
But like we did a walk, like a 5-mile hike on New Year's Eve.
That's true.
Because it was like 70 degrees here.
Yeah.
And like the last time we did something like that you tricked me into, like it was like, holy cow, I could barely do it. And this time it was like no big deal because I've been doing the tonal.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was like, even though I haven't necessarily been training for endurance per se, but I have been exercising, it was totally different.
Yeah, that's true.
Actually, my wife and I, and the kids, we went into the tonal store in the Century City Mall. And it's like, this looks really cool. And I have no place to put it.
Oh,
like we can afford to buy a tonal. It's the other house that we have to buy to put it.
Yeah, get rid of that dry erase board.
that's at work.
I'm not putting a tonal in at work. I'm sorry. That's or building the addition or something like that. Yeah, I like that a lot, but oh well.
That is one of the good things about the Midwest is that you get a lot more bang for your buck in your houses.
Yeah,
so
we have so much space in the Midwest in general.
And if you saw our house compared to what we paid for it, compared to what it would cost where you're at, we
couldn't afford our house.
Yeah.
I don't think I could have afforded my house what it is now when I bought it almost 20 years ago. So
wow, that's incredible.
I've been in one place for 20 years. I hate moving, but
I don't blame you.
Neither.
Anyway, I was the Peloton Experience completely changed how we deal with it. It made life a lot easier and got me back into cycling because I had not been doing it. I'd been doing, I did the indoor cycling. I got trained as an instructor at this gym called Bodies in Motion, which actually was an LA-based gym that really made its bones as a boxing gym, ironically enough. And they had these guys who were pretty serious, like boxers and kickboxers, doing the training. And then when they moved from this little tiny storefront and near my work to a bigger place with the bikes, I got on the bike. And I liked the cycling. And the guy who started the program was a cyclist. And so the classes sort of made sense for someone who biked outside. And what happened over time, I thought, I felt, for what it's worth, that, and I don't mean to disparage aerobics instructors. Some of my best friends are aerobics instructors, but you got a lot of aerobics instructors on bikes who were just spinning their feet really fast with no resistance, and there was no physiological benefit to it, and it was hard on your joints, and it didn't feel like something that was worthwhile. And at the time I did not have kids, and so I could go outside, and so I rode outside. When the Peloton came, I thought, well, I'll try it. And then I just sort of got sucked into it because there's a, especially with Power Zone, and again, I'm a Power Zone guy, but people can do whatever they want. The thing about Power Zone is there actually is a plan and a concept that you can follow. And if I want to, I can take another class and I can make it a Power Zone class, or I can do the class as cubed. I mean, that's the thing that people forget is, like, people are saying stuff, but they can't see you and you can do whatever you want.
Absolutely.
This is America.
But it's so true. And that's why most of the instructors will say, like, it's your ride. Do what you want. You know, it's your ride. You do you. And you can absolutely do that. And the same thing with people who train via heart rate zone training. You know, you can make any class into a heart rate zone class. You don't have to have somebody cueing you on that. But don't you think that people who are less comfortable there are certain people who are less comfortable making those choices for themselves? Like, they want somebody to cue them because they're not confident. Like, you've been an instructor, you've had, you know, spinning classes taught to you, then you learned how to do spinning, and you've done all this outdoor riding. But people who they're brand new to all of this, I'm sure that feels overwhelming to do.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. And I think there are a couple of things. One is, you know, I rode in college, my wife swam in college, and we both have the same feeling about this stuff, is people tend to not understand that they can probably go harder, that their mind tells them to stop before they really have to. And now that doesn't mean it isn't uncomfortable and difficult and all that, but people left to their own devices probably won't work as hard as they can and get as much as they could out of it. And that's the argument for listen to the instructors, take the cues. That said, you know, when someone says go to 40 resistance at 100 RPMs, I mean, for me, that's, I mean, just because of how my bike is, that's kind of close to a warm up. It's a little more than that. But for some other people, that's like, holy cow, I'm going to die. Mm-hmm. Right. So, you know, there's a disconnect there, and people have to understand it's like, it's okay if it's different for you. And the thing I like about Power Zone is you have sort of an objective measure of what you can do that tells you where your exertion is.
Absolutely.
And, you know, again, don't have to do it, but it's a really handy tool to have so that, and I can know, like, if I'm doing a ride and I feel like, well, this should be easy and it's not, that tells me something. It's like, okay, I need more sleep, or I need to take a day off the bike. All those things are feedback to me because I have this metric that I can live by. That's really valuable to me. Again, your mileage may vary.
Literally.
So do you do the Power Zone challenges? Do you create?
I do the Power Zone challenges. I'm on a team. Buzz Lightyear. It's a space themed challenge this time. And I really love it. And, you know, you connect with all these people, and, you know, I've heard other people talk about how they really become connected and friends with people in these groups, and I completely see it. My daughter's selling Girl Scout cookies, and some of my teammates have bought Girl Scout cookies from her. So that is all good. It's a really nice community, and it's a supportive community that tells people, you know, great, you did great, or if you can't do it, that's okay too. You know, you've got to, the first and foremost thing is take care of yourself. And if anything, there are two things I'd like to come out of this pandemic. One is, if you're sick, stay home, right? Mm-hmm. That's number one. And number two is take care of yourself, right? Do the thing you need to do to take care of yourself. Take a day off, or whatever, take a bath, whatever it is that you need, you should do that. And, you know, part of it for me, because it's always been important to me, is the working out. But, you know, and I've discovered this more lately, rest is important too. And I get into a pattern where I do something every day, and I'm on the bike, even if it's an easy ride every day. And there's sometimes I actually need to just not clip in. That's important. So
I have a slogan for your team.
Okay.
Oh, geez.
To infinity and beyond.
Oh, geez.
It's genius, and you know it. You're gonna, like, when as soon as we get done, you're gonna be like on your group text.
I can do it right now.
Yeah. I had an idea.
Oh no, I am big on credit. I will give you that.
I guess in that line of work and with what your wife does, like that's for the best.
You don't want to get the intellectual property lawsuits.
No. So now you said that Peloton kind of has pulled you back to outdoor classes. Not outdoor classes, outdoor riding. Are you doing that now?
Well, I mean, Peloton actually, it made my outdoor riding better, having not done it for years. The thing that stopped me from riding outdoors is having twins.
Sure.
And, they do different things on weekends, much as we would, they're a boy and a girl. So much as we'd like them to do exactly the same thing and make our lives easy, they have not chosen to do that for us. So, we're sort of pulled in different directions. So but when I want to do a ride, this is all because I want to do a century ride in Solvang in March. So I'm training for that. And the reality is, because the base I have with Peloton, I need about 4 or 5 rides outside. I need to build up, I did a 24-mile ride last weekend, and I'll do a 40 or 45-mile ride with a lot of climbing in it. I'm trying to do it this weekend, but again, the schedule is tough. And if I can do that, another couple of rides, and then at the end, like a 70-mile ride, I'm ready.
Okay. Now, are you part of the Road Riders group as well?
I have joined the Road Riders group. Thank you for having him on, because I was trying to find that, and there it was. So I'm not part of that. I'm not part of that group, although I have not taken advantage of it. And really, the thing I'd like to know ultimately is, are there people who are doing rides around Los Angeles?
Yes, the answer is yes.
So I got to hook up with that. But I have very specific timing and places. It's hard for me to do things with other people, not because I'm a misanthrope, but mostly because it's a really tight schedule to get stuff done.
Totally get
it's
that.
probably faster than driving.
It can be. So I live up in the hills, and when I was working at Fox, occasionally I would bike to work. And that involved climbing up a god-awful steep hill very fast, about 0.6 miles, and it was about a 10-12% grade, would just burn out my lungs. And then it was downhill all the way to the Fox lot. And then that goes through the day, and then around 6 o'clock, I say, almost time to go home. It's like, oh crap, I have to climb back up.
Yeah. So that's exactly where my mind started. I was like, but you got to
climb back. It's about a 5 mile. The Santa Monica Mountains cut through. They separate the west side from the San Fernando Valley, and it's about a 5 mile incline on the west, from the west side to the top, and only 2 miles from the valley. So that was not fun. Plus, I live on a hill, so no matter what I do, the last 0.3 miles are a hideous climb, and so that wasn't as much fun. So I didn't do it that often, but I did do it. And yes, it wasn't slower than taking the car. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I bet.
Hopefully there's showers.
Yeah, I know.
I would only do it if there was a shower. There was a shower at work. That's one of the nice things about being on a film lot, is you have stuff like that available. So.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. That's another thing I've always wanted here in the Midwest. We don't have anything like that. There's nothing.
They discourage
showers at all, or
no? We have showers. We don't have showers at work. There's very few companies that have.
We have like those old timey flower waters on a string. And we just pull it, like in Ma and Pa Kettle movies.
Yeah, there you go.
Myself. Yeah.
Yeah, you are.
Well, I'm older than he is, so.
Yes, but he's the one referencing it.
That is true. So yeah, I mean, I stopped because, and like when my wife was doing the Alcatraz training every Sunday, she would get up early and go, and so that, no matter what, I had the kids for that morning, and so we sort of are very focused on when we do stuff like that, because it's a lot to put on the other person.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Totally. So before we started recording, you were talking about your affinity for donating blood.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I started when I was in Rhode Island. I went to Brown's. I lived in Providence for a long time, and I got out and I lived about 3 blocks from a grocery store, which kind of had a mall. It was like a grocery store and 3 other shops, is a precursor of the modern kind of mall. I think there was like a Radio Shack thing, and the Rhode Island Blood Center put something in there, and so I started donating blood. And because it was easy, and at the time I was working nights, so I could just go there during the day. Every 8 weeks, I'd go there and donate blood. Easy, it's a good thing to do. And I think by the time I left there, I donated about 2 or 3 gallons. I've lost track. So that's
a lot.
Each donation is about a pint, so 8 donations to a gallon, and then I moved out to LA, and I was in business school, and I really couldn't do it. And then I got out, and it turns out I was living not too far from the American Red Cross, and I started giving there. and I probably gave another 3 or so gallons, while I was living in that space. And then it became more convenient. UCLA, where I went to business school, opened a blood center, and I started going there, and I've given about 2.5 gallons there. And I just try and go as often as I can. The difficult thing is they're open during the day. And so if you're working during the day, getting out and doing it is tough. And Saturdays are tough because, kids don't just want to sit at home all the time. But I try and and the nice thing about the pandemic, again, I was working from home a lot, and I could just go down there and donate at lunch. So, right now, there's a huge blood shortage because of the pandemic.
Right.
And I would say that, do it. It literally, it's a little bit of time. You get juice and cookies. I mean, what's not to like, right?
The needle in your arm, John.
Oh,
I actually don't mind with all the Moderna booster stuff we've done.
Yeah.
I've given so much blood this year.
Yeah.
I've gotten past it, but it is an amazing thing.
Absolutely. So was there something that pulled you to that, or it was just like it was right there and you were like, why not? And then it became a thing.
Yeah, I think it was sort of the why not of it all. It's like, I knew it was a good thing to do. It was, at first it was super convenient, and then it became like, this is something I can do that is virtually no cost to me. I mean, I'm not losing money. I might read a book or watch a TV show in the interim, but it's just not that big a deal. And, if enough people do it, it makes a huge cumulative difference in the health outcomes in an area. And there's always a shortage of blood. I mean, always. And it's just more exacerbated now because of the pandemic. And, people who are afraid to go in and donate or unable to go in and donate. So I just think, I'm in awe of the people who have given up a kidney or something like that. That's insane to me. I have incredible regard for them. This feels like cheating. It's like, no big deal.
You're like, I'll get the blood back. Yeah.
Yeah, it will come. It will come back eventually.
Yeah. If not, when you cut yourself shaving, air would come out by now.
Yeah, well, that's true, and I would look a little more pallid. So.
Well, I think that you're selling yourself short. I think it's amazing that you've done that, because you didn't do it once or twice. You've done it over years, and you've done it consistently. How many gallons did you say altogether?
I'm guessing it's around 8, so 8 to 10. So
it's incredible.
So if you ever need blood, do they put you at the front of the line? Do you get like a special card?
No, I don't. I think if I need blood, I just have to hope other people have stepped up.
So we should all give blood, because then we can at least ensure that you will have blood when you need blood.
He's playing the odds. He's given so much blood. If he ever needs blood, he'll probably get his own back.
Well, it depends on the timing. Like if I get in an accident on the way back from giving blood, that's more likely. Yes. Yeah. But I'm endeavoring not to do that. So
good.
Yes.
We want you to not get in an accident, period, at any time.
Also, it's a cost-saving measure if you're looking to get liquored up. You don't need as much.
True. I mean, can I just say for the record that I'm pretty much of a lightweight even before I've donated blood.
Well.
Yeah. Generally, if I'm drinking, I'm at home, and then it's just like all I have to do is make it down the hall to as opposed to get in a car. So.
A lot safer that way. So that's good.
When my wife and I go out, when we have someone to watch the kids, she is the designated drinker. So
it used to be like that at our house. I was the designated drinker. I just don't drink that much anymore. And we don't go out because of the pandemic.
Yeah,
so.
we haven't been out like that in a long time.
We have not.
Nice thing about LA is there are a lot of places where you can eat outdoors. So we managed to do that and have outdoor dining. And we're in the throes of winter now, so it's a little chilly.
Stop.
Yeah.
Well, no. You laugh, but it was 48 degrees this morning.
It was 9 here.
Yeah, it was 9.
Look, I went to high school in Minnesota. I know what cold is, and I know.
Okay.
But I also know that if it's 60 degrees and windy and you're sitting outside, it's cold.
That's true. No, that is true. That is absolutely true.
And no one in Minnesota would be stupid enough to sit outside when it's well, for them, 40 degrees and windy.
Yes.
Yeah, that's shorts weather there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know.
So what's your leaderboard name?
My leaderboard name it's highly imaginative. It's Twins Dad Encino.
Okay.
I live in Encino,
And you have twins.
I had a lot of thought into that. I just want you to know.
Okay. Did it take you a couple hours to come up with it?
It's actually my second leaderboard. I had another leaderboard name that I didn't like, and I just went to Twins Dad Encino. I keep thinking I actually have a name I'd like to go to, but Peloton doesn't have enough characters for it.
Oh,
I have 15 characters for leaderboard names. I need 18 because otherwise it becomes like a jumble of no vowels.
Yeah.
But my idea was to be the Dread Parent Roberts.
That's great. That's great.
By golly, if they go to 18 characters and someone else gets it, I'm going to be. Every once in a while, I think of going on the OPP and suggesting. I was like, no. I think that's.
I mean, you're just asking to get yelled at. I don't even know what they would be mad about, but I know they'd be mad.
Yes.
So I don't do it. Don't do it, John.
Yeah.
But if you want to request it.
What?
If you want to request it, though, you can go to the support page at Peloton, and they have like a little section.
That's a good idea because I think friends don't let friends go to the OPP.
I think that should be a slogan.
So, do you have a preferred instructor?
I do a lot of Matt Woper stuff because, of course, he's so dominant in Power Zone.
Sure.
It sort of depends on my mood. Like for the Power Zone, I'm generally a Matt or Dennis guy. Sometimes I want to go with Christine. And sometimes in challenges, you have choices, and I'll just look at the music. There was one time I was looking at this, and I thought, well, maybe I'll take Ben's class. And I said, I just don't want to hear Eye of the Tiger again. Because my son is very into it and we hear it a lot in the house. So sometimes that's the determining factor. But, if I want a chill ride, I might go with Emma. Different instructors have different strengths. I mean, like Emma and Dennis, I think, are the people who are most plugged into music sort of organically that I know of. I mean, I don't know all the instructors really well. But those two, I get that sense, and it's fun because they really get into the music they're playing. Olivia, if you just want to get your rear kicked, Olivia and Kendall are good for that. I looked at my history, and I started with the Brits, and then I took a class with Jen, and then took a class with Kendall, and then Olivia, and I was doing that, and then I think it was Christine for Power Zone, and then I got into the whole Power Zone world, and never been since. So
hey, whatever works for you.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, I think that should be the mantra with Peloton. So whatever works for you, right?
Absolutely.
It absolutely, yeah.
So, do you have any advice for people just entering the world of Peloton?
Well, I probably did it wrong. I'm just going to say that. I mean, people say, take the intro classes, and I didn't do that. And part of it's like, I've done spinning before. I know how to do this. I know about form. I know about pedal strokes and all that stuff. And there's a little bit of arrogance in that, but it's kind of true. And so I didn't want to do that and make it feel like it was too easy. But like, if you're just getting started, do the beginning stuff, take different instructors. Don't burn yourself out. I mean, that's a key thing. And get into some of the other stuff. Like the strengths program is really good, and find the instructors you like. I really like Callie for strength. I came to like Selena because I found a really cool stretch she does with opera. Right, it's a really great stretch. And then I took a strength class with her, and I thought, you seemed like a nice person before. And not so much. But yoga. I mean, I've gotten really into yoga stuff, really more related to counteract all the stuff that the biking does. But I think the yoga instructors are really good. And if you join a group, they're a resource, because all those people. If you have 20, I don't know how many 100 people are in my Power Zone Pack team. They're all resources, and between them, they've taken everyone and done everything, right? And ask questions. Right? People are very happy to give you advice or information in those forums. not the OPP, but whether it's the breakthrough crew or hardcore, which scares me. I haven't gotten into that because those people scare me a little bit. But they're all actually really eager to help and get people to get the most out of what they've gotten in their home.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That is excellent advice.
Yeah. Well, John, thank you so much for joining us today. Before we let you go, remind everybody where they can find you if you would like to be found.
Well, I'm Twins Dad Encino on the leaderboard, and on Twitter, and I don't talk about Peloton or fitness stuff on Twitter, and I might alienate people with what I do talk about, but it's JRA81 LA, I think. I don't remember what it's called.
Wait a second.
You may not like it,
because I think you're following me, Tom, and you can find me.
So just ask Tom how to follow John.
Just ask Tom. That's that's I leave the Facebook stuff to for the kid pics and personal stuff. So I'll
totally,
yeah,
absolutely.
That makes sense.
Offline.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us. We really.
Well, thank you for having me, and have a good evening. And I'm glad everyone's feeling better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, I guess that brings this episode to a close. What, pray tell, do you have in store for people next week?
Another fun interview. If you guys watch the show Fixer Upper, you might recognize the name Clint Harp. He is a huge Peloton fan, and we were lucky enough to sit down with him and talk about all things Peloton and some fun stories from how he met the Gaines.
He was a blast. So
he really was.
So until next week, where can people find you?
People can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Crystal D. O'Keefe, and they can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and the Clip Out. Wait, not the Clip Out leaderboard, the Peloton leaderboard at Clip Out Crystal.
There you go.
On episode 254.
And you can find me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. You can find the show online at facebook.com/The Clip Out. While you're there, like the page, join the group, and also don't forget our YouTube channel, youtube.com/The Clip Out. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, keep pedaling
and running.